Hello, I want to go back over what we learned on Sunday, and it was in Romans 8:11. It says, "But if the spirit of him that raised up Jesus from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up Christ from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his spirit that dwelleth in you." So this word quicken here is in the Greek, it's 2227, and so Pio, I believe is how you say it, but it means here the Thayer definition of this is to produce alive, begat or bear living young, to cause to live, make alive, give life, by spiritual power to arouse and invigorate, to restore to life, to give increase of life. So God's Spirit, we can say from this verse, it is a quickening spirit that gives life. And it will actually change, it says here in this verse, it will change your mortal bodies or quicken your mortal bodies, the physical man, and make it subject or give it life. Now, here in Genesis chapter 1, when we read this, it says, "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." And God, well, I'll stop right there in verse 2. The same Spirit that moved upon the face of the waters is the same Spirit that will actually quicken our mortal bodies. And that is what I find very interesting. I've been thinking about this for over a week now. And it's that same Spirit, I keep going over it, it's that same Spirit that moved upon the face of the waters that it actually brought life to the creation itself. And here we have in Genesis life coming forth as a result of the Spirit of God and of the Word of God bringing life. Now here's what when you go on and read through Genesis 1 and 2, it said in verse 6, "And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And he goes on, and he goes on in verse 9, and he said, "And God said, Let the waters under heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. So we go through Genesis 1 and 2, and then we find in Genesis 2:3 it says, "And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he rested from all of his work which God created and made." And that is very interesting to me, because it said he rested from all of his work. Well, what was the work that he did? It was simply by speaking out through faith what he wanted to see, and actually his creation. He actually spoke his creation into existence. In Hebrews 11:3, it says, Hebrews 11:3, it says, "Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear." So his work was really just speaking the things through faith into existence of what he wanted, of what his creation was. So we as his people that were created in his image and likeness, and what I've been doing is speaking what he says that he wants to see on this earth. And I've been declaring that with my mouth. That's how I've been practically applying this. I think this is one of the things that's really struck me the most, is seeing this and understanding that it was the same Spirit that actually altered the confusion or the chaos here at the beginning of time, or at the beginning of the creation, and then we see it coming into an order just by the spoken word of God. That's what really, I think, really impacted me the most. And then when I went through and I was going through Proverbs chapter 4, it said this. It said, let's see, I think it's in verse 23. And now, let's see. Yeah, here it is. It's in Proverbs 4, 22. It's speaking about the word. It says, "For they are life unto those that find them, and health to all their flesh." So the spoken word is actually can bring life and it can bring health to the mortal man, and that's what it says in Romans 8:11. His spirit can quicken the mortal man, or bring life to the mortal man, the physical man. I think that's absolutely great. If he can have creation, and we can see creation just by the spoken word of God come into being, what more with that same spirit that dwells in us can happen around us and in us?
Okay.
What do you think?